Season 8 of Rick and Morty is finally out, and I definitely have a lot to say about it. Or at least I hope I do. This part I'm recording before I even watched anything from Season 8. I wanted to write the intro before watching any of Season 8 to give my hopes for the season knowing little about it. So let's get into my hopes about Season 8. Hope number 1, be at a similar or higher quality than Season 7. I thought Season 7 was great, and an improvement from Season 6, which I already thought was an improvement from Season 5. I hope this season continues the upward trend in quality. Hope number 2, do more stuff with the family. Last season, the family got sidelined. Jerry and Summer only had one episode each focusing on them. And don't get me started on how little Space Beth and Beth showed up. They were lucky if they got a cameo in an episode. They haven't gotten to do much since Beth had twin stink back in season 6, and I would like to see them have the spotlight again. And maybe actually do something with Space Beth and, space? Hope number 3, no bad episodes. This one is a long shot and very subjective, but I would love for this season to be great with no bad episodes like season 6 and season 2. That's probably too high of a standard, but this list is just for fun, so who cares? Hope number 4, reveal the next big storyline. With Rick Prime dead and Evil Morty gone, for now, I'm intrigued to see what they're gonna do next with the overarching plot. I wouldn't be too bummed if they don't do anything overarching this season though. Last season they gave us a lot of lore reveals. Maybe just a season of wacky adventures would be enough, and then next season do something drastic, like kill Jerry or something, I don't know. Hope number 5, have Rick continue to improve as a person. The thing I love most about the last 2 seasons is that it feels like Rick is changing, and really is trying to become a better person. Now, I don't want Rick to become a saint, obviously. That would take away almost all of his personality traits that make him likable. All I'm asking is him to be nicer and more considerate to his family and friends. And those are my biggest hopes for season 8. I'm excited to see how many actually come true. I'm hyped to get into the season. After rewatching the series twice over in the past 9 months and making that retrospective series, which if you haven't watched you definitely should after this video, I've been craving new Rick and Morty content. That's not the anime. So, without further ado, let's get into Rick and Morty Season 8. Episode 1 is Summer of All Fears. This episode starts off with an older Summer who is a tech billionaire. People around her are acting weird, constantly telling her if she borrows a phone charger, she should give it back to them after she's done using it. She meets up with an older Morty who definitely has a couple screws loose, and they argue about going back to the real world. I love their designs here. They remind me of something a fan would draw. In a good way. Morty reluctantly agrees to go with Summer. Then she launches a device that turns this guy into a phone charger, making phone chargers obsolete. This breaks the matrix Rick trapped him in. Morty and Summer wake up strapped to a device that Rick created to punish them for taking his phone charger. This is a hilarious concept. Rick planning on leaving them in a matrix where everyone tells them not to steal phone chargers is a hilarious but extremely fucked up way of teaching Morty and Summer a lesson. But what makes this plot interesting is that Rick left them in there for 17 years. It was only hours in real life, but in the Matrix, they had lives, they loved, they lost, and now Morty and Summer have matured. And all of this happened because Rick fell asleep. Rick leaving them in this machine for years is awful, even if he didn't plan to trap them there for 17 years. I know I said I wanted Rick to be nicer this season, but I'll let this one slide because he didn't intend to traumatize them, and more importantly, that shit's funny. Summer cries to Beth, trying to get her to stop Rick, who is just going to erase their minds. Beth tells Rick not to, and Rick says she'll regret it. Summer's excited because she basically has a second chance at life, and she can now make something of herself. Then 2 teenage girls make fun of her, and she remembers how awful high school is. Summer and Beth go out for drinks and start to bond, which would be sweet if older Summer wasn't such a bitch. Summer is being extremely passive-aggressive to Beth. Her behavior makes me feel bad for Beth, which is really hard to do. They make it home and Beth tries to erase Summer's mind, but Summer's like, no, and leaves. I love seeing Beth and Summer paired up together, even if it's just for a little bit. I also don't blame Beth for wanting to erase Summer's mind. I would have done that in a heartbeat. Summer and Beth reconnect and talk about how it's better for Beth to be her mom and not her friend, which is a cliche sitcom resolution, but I like it. In the other plot, Morty and Rick are bonding and repairing a tank together. Morty gets flashbacks to what happened in the Matrix, where he went to prison for stealing something, becomes a firefighter, makes friends, then goes to war. The song during this montage is fire. There's obviously something wrong with Morty, but they don't quite reveal what happened to him yet. And on a first watch, it has you on the edge of your seat, wanting to know what happened to Morty in the Matrix. I mean, Morty isn't very easily shaken at this point in the series, so it has to be something fucked up. Morty then traps Rick into the Matrix machine, and instead of people saying stealing phone chargers is bad, he makes them say putting people into a Matrix is bad, which is such a good gag. It was well built up with Rick saying the machine can do any punishment, and it's just a really funny reveal. Also, seeing Morty outsmart Rick and knock him out was very satisfying after what Rick did to them. Morty then hijacks the tank they were building together. Summer sees that Morty is about to destroy America by blowing up a nuclear power plant, so she goes to stop him. We see the rest of Morty's flashback showing his adventures in war. Morty's killed, but every time he dies, he gets revived. So he slowly watches his friends die, while he can't. Damn. Yep, that was a great payoff. It's extremely fucked up, so you understand Morty's psychotic break in the episode. Also, I called the Osama bin Laden joke. I know, I'm so smart. I mean, I watched Rick and Morty, so you already knew that. While Morty breaks into the power plant, my favorite joke of the episode happens.
There's not a tank on Earth that can cross that water. Oh shit, it's got a snorkel!
Classic Rick and Morty stupid humor. That joke got a belly laugh out of me. Like, why the hell would a tank even need a snorkel? Earlier in the episode, Morty also tells Rick he should install one, which is hilarious foreshadowing. Summer stops Morty and has a heart-to-heart with him, apologizing for the terrible things she did to him in the Matrix. Morty's confused at first because all she did was run away when he got arrested. But then she reveals she needed lithium to get out of the Matrix, so she purposely started a war, and she knew she was going to win because Morty enlisted and he couldn't die. We'll get to that later. Then it ends with them thinking they are back in a Matrix because a guy says they shouldn't steal their grandpa's inventions. But then Rick comes in after escaping the Matrix and tells them that they're in the real world, and that guy is just weird. My headcanon on why that guy knows that Morty stole Rick's shit is because Rick and Morty are infamous after all the shit they have done, so he would know who Morty is, and the obvious conclusion he would make is that Morty stole the tank from Rick. Also, when Rick escapes, he says wubba-lubba-dub-dub, which as we know from season 1 means I am in great pain. I don't know if the writers intended this, but it shows that Rick is still lost after Rick Prime's death. They probably didn't. It was probably just a reference, but how cool would it be if it was intentional? Then the episode ends with Summer and Morty getting their minds erased after Morty gets a tattoo to remember CJ, his friend in the Matrix. So this episode is a great premiere that has a lot to say about the characters and the world in general. They went a really interesting route with Summer this episode where she became kinda cold-hearted. I mean, she made her brother go through a war, watch his closest companions die, just to get what she wants. That sounds like something someone else in the family would do.
Oh my god, I'm totally turning into my mother.
No, I meant Rick. But the show has made a point about how Beth is a lot like Rick as well, so that works too. So I do believe that they are saying that Summer will become more like Rick when she's older. Summer might have became more cold-hearted because of the circumstances she was in, but I have a feeling they are going to keep exploring this route for her. I love how they explore trauma in this episode. Showing Morty having a psychotic break after seeing his friends die shows that Morty will never become like Rick, because he has humanity and has a limit. Summer used to be one of my favorite characters in the show, but ever since season 4, I thought she just kept getting worse. And after last season's episode focusing on her was bad, I lost hope that the showrunners would do anything interesting with her. But this episode does something interesting with her. I'm not going to say Summer is likable in this episode. She isn't. But that's the point. They are doing something different with her character, and I'd like to see if they explore this concept more. Like, maybe do a thing where she becomes more vindictive throughout the series, who knows? The most interesting thing about this episode to me is the commentary on war, which is actually a really good compliment to the plot in general. Morty goes to war and loses his innocence, and when he goes back to being a kid, he can't forget what happened. What I got from this, I might be completely wrong, but it's my opinion, is the creators criticizing war and how you take young people who are optimistic and ready for life and break them. It also shows the bigwigs controlling the war, throwing people away like they are nothing with Summer. She doesn't care what she has to do in order to win the war. Summer believes that these people mean nothing because it's all a simulation. But to Morty, they are his friends. This mirrors the real world, where some bigwigs only see numbers, not real people. I just thought it was an interesting parallel to the main plot with Summer and Morty's loss of innocence. I forgot to bring up how much of a hell living in this Matrix actually would be, because people are obsessed with phone chargers, constantly talking about them. I mean, they go to war because someone chopped a phone charger in half. And every other sentence is someone saying you should not steal phone chargers. This would drive me insane. This episode is extremely funny, with a lot of great gags like the snorkel, the cool tank guy, Summer getting bored of her future self's video, and a lot more. Definitely a great episode. So far, this episode is the best of the season. Duh. Oh yeah, I'm continuing my ranking of every episode, but to keep this less confusing, I'm going to save the overall ranking for the end of the video. So stick around if you are interested to see where these episodes rank for me compared to the rest of the series. Episode 2 is Valky Rick. This episode starts off with Space Beth going to assassinate the Galactic Federation's queen. Holy shit, they are actually doing something with Space Beth? Not only are they doing something with Space Beth, but this is the first episode that focuses on what she actually does for work, and not just her hanging out with the family. This is pretty neat, especially since she's been in the show since season 4, and has only gotten one episode focusing on her. That would be fine if she was a side character, but she's been a part of the main cast for 2 seasons now, and only having one episode starring her in that time frame is disappointing. So this was a nice surprise. She finds the queen, but someone has already assassinated her. Space Beth is caught, which triggers a red alert, and the people that she works with, the Defiants, are taking too long to figure out a plan to help her escape. So she is forced to call Rick to help her. I love how Rick's hanging out in the sushi restaurant in the basement. I'd love to see more of these sub-levels explored. We haven't seen much of them. It's interesting to see Space Beth's reluctance to call Rick. She might be Beth, but unlike Earth Beth, who is a Rick Glazer, Space Beth isn't that fond of Rick. She doesn't hate him, but they are also not on good terms. Rick saves her and tells the bugs that she is as dangerous as him, which was nice of him. Then he takes her to the Defiance headquarters, where he talks shit on them since he used to work for them and gets her fired. Space Beth isn't too happy about that. In Rick's defense, she was probably going to get fired anyways for defying orders and going to assassinate the queen with no plan, but Rick definitely didn't help in the matter. It's also revealed that the queen is still alive. Whoa, 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 whoa. She was dead. How did this happen? Whoa. Jesus Christ, that was a great bit. Rick helps Space Beth get to the bottom of this mystery, and it turns out that this mad doctor created a spore that infects Gromflamites and turns them into big hulking monsters. He also replaced the queen with a robot and is going to release the spores into the air at her birthday party, turning all the Gromflamites into a hive mind controlled by him. There's a bit the doctor does saying that he lives rent-free in people's heads, and I hate it. Hearing an old scientist using modern day lingo just feels weird. Same with Space Beth saying cooked. I don't mind when Rick, Morty, or Summer say trendy stuff. Like, that makes sense. It fits their characters. Morty and Summer are teenagers, and Rick is a fourth wall breaking Redditor. But I just feel like Space Beth and a random mad scientist wouldn't keep up with this lingo, so it feels weird. And that's my pointless rant of this episode. Rick and Space Beth formulate a plan to stop him, and I really like this bit. Rick and Beth are voicing over the plan, but everything gets fucked up because one of Rick's friends, Cisco, doesn't show up. Space Beth is complaining that Rick is putting all his faith in Cisco showing up and won't make a plan B because he trusts him as much as Bird Person. Then on the screen we see that Cisco doesn't show up. This bit went on for a while and it became a bit unfunny, but then it kept going, coming back around to being funny again. Space Beth and Rick thwart the queen bomb, but Beth is stabbed and infected by the spore. Rick and Space Beth team up with some Gromflamites to find a cure, and to stop the mad doctor, who has created a big hive under the planet, planning to take it over by force. The leader is voiced by Stephen Root, and it's always a pleasant surprise to hear his voice. 63 dead Gromflamites later, Rick finds the cure and cures Space Beth. It's a nice detail that Rick tests out the cure on himself first, just in case it backfires on humans. This shows that he cares for Space Beth, even if they haven't gotten along in the past. Then the group, including Bird Person and Bird Daughter, go to the big hive on the planet to destroy the nest with a payload. They are basically doing the ending part of Seeds of Time in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. Now that's what I call a timeless reference. I like that Bird Person is back, and we actually get to see more than 10 seconds of Bird Daughter. She's bloodthirsty and loves killing.
She gets it from her mother.
At least you can joke about it now. Rick and Bird Person have a sweet conversation, with Rick telling him that he is trying not to blow it with Space Beth. This shows that Rick does care about staying in his maybe daughter's life, which is nice to see. They make it to the hive, and the evil doctor reveals himself, talks shit, and accidentally kills himself. Space Beth also tells Rick that she's glad they went on an adventure together, which is sweet. With the problem taken care of, Space Beth is welcomed back into the Defiance, and after 8 seasons of the show, Rick and the Gromflamites are cool now. That's nice to see. I mean, they are hardly in the show anymore. They probably gave up trying to get Rick's knowledge of interdimensional travel after he destroyed their government in the season 3 premiere, since they never go after him again. Having an episode where the first real villains of Rick and Morty make up with Rick is a great choice, ending their plotline with one last big hurrah. But also, why is the Defiance at the planet of Gromflamites? Aren't they still enemies? Just because Space Beth solved a mutual problem doesn't mean the Defiance and Gromflamites are cool now. Or maybe they are. The writers might have just wrote out the Gromflamites so they can take the Defiance in a new direction. That's just a theory though. I really enjoyed this episode. I love that they paired up Rick and Space Beth. That hasn't happened since the season 4 finale. And hell, even there, they had like a total of 1 minute of screen time together. So exploring their relationship is nice to see. And I like Space Beth slowly easing up on Rick. Sure, he's done some messed up things and is a terrible father, but he's trying to make things right with her. I hope they keep this character development and not just return back to the status quo. Seeing more of what Space Beth actually does is nice to see. We get some Gromflamite lore, with a throwaway line saying that the queen is 70 days old, which means the Gromflamites don't live that long. I mean, they are bugs, so it makes sense, but being a talking, sentient creature that knows it won't live long would be super depressing. Some of them are even wanting to die because they want to pay for their kids' college. Definitely the top 5 worst alien races to be, and Rick and Morty. This episode has plenty of funny jokes, like the ordinary sand gag. But the best thing in this episode is Bird Person and Rick hating on Gene.
I think it's time we remove Gene from the text thread.
You can't respond, it only feeds the beast.
Yes, let's go, fuck you, Gene! In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the number 2 spot below Summer of All Fears. Episode 3 is The Rick, the Mort, and the Ugly. This episode starts off with Rick and Morty collecting trash from the Citadel ruins. Also, Morty is playing with a fidget spinner, and that's cringe. They make a joke out of it, but I don't care. I don't want to go back to that time. The ship gets hit by some debris, and they go to repair it on a nearby asteroid. On this asteroid, there's a town of Mortys. Now you might be thinking, why are there still so many Mortys in this universe? Wasn't everyone sent back to the realities of Origin in the season 6 premiere? That's correct, smartass. These Mortys are clones, and since they were made in this universe, they either stayed or returned there. Rick and Morty crash land on a farm where a redneck Rick shoos them away. Then we see a day in his life, and get a bit of foreshadowing to who this Rick really is, with some fucked up looking animals. He's later revealed to be the head of the Citadel's cloning department, so he obviously made these weird looking animals for companionship. Whatever floats his boat. He goes into the Morty town to get supplies and meets with Arcade Morty. His trip gets cut short when a bunch of Ricks show up and they start abducting the Mortys. This is so fucked. Like, it's crazy to think how most Ricks are pure evil. I guess that's what makes our Rick different, even though he's not far from it. Anyways, Redneck Rick gets shot like a lot, and the Ricks leave. They go back to a broken part of the Citadel, where it's revealed that they kidnapped Mortys to try and clone them, but it's not working out. Hothead Rick gets his payment, which is portal fluid. It's a very simple decision to make currency here portal fluid, but a great one. The other Ricks are talking about where they want to go, but Hothead Rick says that they need to think bigger, and that he has plans. Redneck Rick gets healed, goes back to his house, and sees that the Ricks burnt it down, and killed his cloned animals. Redneck Rick decides to get revenge John Wick style, but instead of his puppy getting killed, it's his pig abominations. On the way to the Citadel, Arcade Morty reveals himself and his companion. They want to save the Mortys that are kidnapped, and Redneck Rick agrees to let them tag along. They start killing the Ricks, and eventually make it to the cloning room. Then Southern Rick comes in and offers Redneck Rick his old job back. Redneck Rick agrees to help out Southern Rick, but then creates a super-powered Morty that starts killing all the Ricks. This leads to Redneck Rick helping the Mortys escape while he stays behind. I love how he slaps the go button like slapping a horse to move. I know the title of the episode is a reference to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but I haven't seen it. But I do know it's a Western, so that and Redneck Rick's revolver are cute references to the genre. Redneck Rick starts wreaking havoc around the Citadel, but is beaten up really badly. Southern Rick finds him and starts monologuing, but then he finds out that Redneck Rick is kinda his father. Then Redneck Rick sacrifices himself and blows up the Citadel. The Mortys decide to stop hiding and live their lives how they want to, which is a nice way to send them off. It's funny to think about how this universe will just have a shit ton of Mortys running around now. Arcade Morty buries Redneck Rick, and he might want to think again about marking the grave with a cross. Ricks generally don't believe in that stuff. Then Rick and Morty come back to find Morty's fidget spinner, accuse Arcade Morty of killing Redneck Rick when he is in earshot, and then they leave. I get Rick not caring about Arcade Morty, but Morty is being a bitch and cuts him off when he starts to explain what happened. Like, damn, have some compassion. You're the same person. Rick does admit that he was wrong about Morty not checking in between the seats for his fidget spinner, which Morty praises him for admitting that, and says that he's changing. A nice moment of Rick being recognized for his better attitude. This episode came out of left field. I love when the writers go crazy with random episodes, not following our Rick and Morty. This is kinda a pseudo-sequel to the Ricklantics mix-up, where it starts off with a seemingly normal Rick and Morty adventure. Then we follow the lives of the Ricks and Mortys who live at the Citadel. Now, is it as good as that episode? Hell no. But that's too high of a standard to hold. That's one of my favorite episodes of any TV show, period. This episode is also trying to do something completely different. It's about a man trying to take revenge, but also about him taking accountability for the clones he created, and what horrible things they did to the cloned Mortys. These Ricks were killing Mortys left and right, and Redneck Rick feels responsible because he is the one who created them. That's why he blew everything up in the end, seeing his creations doing such terrible things. Also because they killed his pig creatures. I really like the Western vibe, it really fits the story they were telling. It's really melancholic to see the Citadel finally being completely destroyed. I mean, it's been destroyed 2 times at this point, and I don't believe it will be gone for good. Some Ricks will probably make another one. But this version of the Citadel has finally fallen completely. Like, it's been in the show since season 1, and whenever there's a Citadel episode, it is always a banger. So it's bittersweet to see it finally go out in a blaze of glory. This episode is very similar to the last, in the way they both resolve plot lines from the first season. I wonder if they are resolving these plot lines so they can reveal something big at the end of the season. I hope so. I mean, you guys already know, so don't tell me, oh my god, I really wrote tee-hee. Jesus Christ. The only problem that I have with this episode is that the relationship between Redneck Rick and Arcade Morty feels forced. They never got along, but when Redneck Rick sacrifices himself, Arcade Morty is devastated. It just didn't feel like he would care all that much. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the 2nd spot, below Summer of All Fears, but above Valky Rick. Real quick, I just want to say, if you are enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. Also, my letterboxd is in the description if you want to go follow. Okay, self-promotion over. Back to the video. Episode 4 is The Last Temptation of Jerry. This episode starts off with Jerry singing a Christmas-style Easter song while decorating the house for the holiday. I'm quite happy this episode's an Easter special. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the holiday, but it's a nice breath of fresh air to tackle a different holiday. Also, Easter specials are hard to find in shows. The only one that I can think of is the South Park one. Maybe because it's a religious holiday that isn't peak like Christmas, but who knows. I don't know if it's me getting older, but I feel like Easter has been getting less popular. It makes sense why. It's always been a weird holiday where you celebrate Jesus' resurrection by searching for eggs. But it feels like it's had a steady decline in popularity. But this episode is gonna make it the most popular holiday of all time. The family won't decorate with Jerry because they're bitches. He's so happy they had to make him suffer. What vindictive pieces of garbage. Sorry, I had a white knight for Jerry for a second. While going to get more Easter supplies, Jerry hits the Easter bunny, killing him after throwing up in his mouth a lot. Gross. Jerry brings the corpse to Rick, and Rick finds an amulet on the Easter Bunny from Germany. Jerry starts to act weird, like eating a lot of lettuce and drinking water like a rabbit, and Rick reveals that Jerry is turning into the Easter Bunny. Rick and Morty go to where the amulet is from, and discover that the Easter Bunny was frozen atop a mountain and had thawed out because of global warming. If only we listened to Al Gore.
You're old and gay!
You can't say that anymore!
Microscope that would have made me retarded.
Ooh, oh boy, Rick. I don't think you're allowed to say that word.
History repeats. During this scene, Morty is talking about how he doesn't know movies like Encino Man because the 80s were so long ago, and it's funny. But then in the next scene, they contradict this by having Morty reference The Wicker Man, which is a 70s movie. Hey, stop. I know what some of you are about to type. I swear to God, if you bring up the terrible Nicolas Cage remake, I will flip out. They find a broken egg from a place called Andromeda, and these angel-coated warriors come and attack them, stealing the egg. Rick and Morty go to investigate Andromeda, and find out that these aliens who have their butt in the front send the Easter bunnies to planets, where the Easter bunny releases a hormone, convincing everyone to repopulate, killing off the planet using overpopulation. Then the aliens ransack the planet. If you didn't get it, the thing is because bunnies have sex a lot, so the Easter bunny's power is making people have sex a lot. You clever sons of bitches. I actually don't hate this idea. It's a pretty dastardly way of ending a planet. but it would take a while for it to take effect on Earth. I mean, it takes 9 months for a baby to be born. I love how genuinely interested Rick is with the butt aliens. He's like a kid in a candy store. The angels come and both of the groups fight, but Rick just steals the egg and goes back to Earth. In the other plot, Jerry slowly turns into the Easter Bunny, and I love his transformation scene. I'm a huge body horror fan, and the ways they make Jerry turn into a bunny are both gross and awesome. Like when his teeth fall out, God, it's so gross in a good way. This scene has to be a homage to The Fly, which is one of my favorite horror movies, so of course I love this. Then Jerry goes around and gets everyone to have sex. Okay, serious question. If this is a magical bunny that's only purpose is to make people have babies, why is Jerry making men have sex with other men? That won't create babies. Very serious question. Rick and Morty arrive at Easter Island because the head statues there are actually spaceships from the planet of butt aliens, and that's why it's called Easter Island. You clever sons of bitches. I'm criticizing this because I can't write a show and need to feel better about myself. The angels reveal that they are a race that hates sex, and that's why they want to stop the Easter Bunny. It turns out that Jesus was one of them, but of course, we had to go and crucify him. I like the visual when Rick cuts this alien guy that looks like Jesus in half and his blood splatters against a wall. The blood makes a cross outline, and also he dies and comes back to life. Epic religious symbolism. That's not me being sarcastic, I actually really like that part. Back at the Smiths, Beth trapped Jerry and they reverse him, but then all the Smith turns into bunnies, and then the butt alien came, and but then Jesus alien comes and steals the bunny thing. Yeah, that's the best I can explain that. The episode ends with the family hating on all holidays throughout the end of the year. And my favorite gag from this episode happens when they realize that Summer has been on spring break for half a year, and we cut to see a cult has formed of the kids whose parents never picked them up. Genuinely funny stuff. This episode's pretty bad. I just feel like a lot of what happened was done to shock people. Some of it works, like Jerry's transformation, but others not so much, like Jerry throwing up in the Easter Bunny's mouth, which I will not show you because I bet YouTube would not like that. And the big sex pile. Like, did that need to be in the episode? No. But they were funny on a first watch. Second watch, not so much. I loved Rick and Morty's dynamic in this episode. It was done perfectly. Like when Rick stops for 45 minutes to tell Morty the plot of an alien movie for no reason. It's just a fun gag. This episode did feel like it was doing a bit too much, setting up a mystery that doesn't have a great payoff, and the pace is really fast. My biggest gripe of the episode is that they set up a good arc for the family. I wish when Jerry turned into the Easter Bunny, the family realized that they should appreciate him more, and in the end, celebrate Easter with him. Sure, it's cliche, but it works. It just feels like Jerry got tortured and no one apologized to him. The ending of this episode is still pretty funny, even if Morty breaks the fourth wall, which I only like when Rick does it. There's also an over the garden wall reference, which is epic. In terms of the ranking, this is going in the 4th spot below Valky Rick. Episode 5 is Cryo Mort a Rickfer. Jesus Christ, I just got what that title meant. That is a good title for this episode. This episode starts off with Rick and Morty driving in space, when they stumble upon a ship full of passengers in cryosleep. Rick wants to rob their vault, but when he attempts to blow up part of the ship to get the vault, Morty takes issue. His retaliation causes the ship to catch on fire, waking everyone from their sleep. Rick and Morty take the places of the 2 dead people in cryosleep. I mean, Rick could have just portaled into the vault, avoiding this situation, but maybe since his portal gun was destroyed last episode, he just hasn't fixed it yet. This is the classic Rick and Morty formula, where Rick tries to do something and Morty stops him because he has morals, but then it leads to a way worse outcome. I usually love these types of episodes, so let's go. Rick is presumed to be this rich couple's son. They believe the cryosleep container malfunctioned, aging him up.
Short answer, no. Long answer, nope.
Rick and them hang out for a bit, bonding, and they eventually say that they are going to throw a coming-of-age party to make sure their son becomes a man before he dies. And the sweet part is that Rick is actually loving this, and is very sweet to them, even feeling guilty for lying to them. We haven't heard anything about Rick's parents in the series, but from this, I'm going to presume that they weren't the best to him, because of how much he is liking having loving parents. He's nice to these people, and they are loving towards him, making him feel something that his real parents never gave him. This is just an assumption, but when they show us a flashback to Rick's parents in the future and they're assholes, I'll be the one laughing. Morty got the shit end of the stick, with him being a worker. He eventually starts an uprising on accident, which comes to a head during Rick's party, where the Makeys and the Takeys go to war. At first, when they called themselves the Makeys, I thought they were saying Mickeys, like the movie Mickey 17, where Mickey was also a worker doing shit jobs. It could have been a cool reference, but no, it's Makeys. This was just an excuse to bring up Mickey 17. If you haven't seen it, it's so good. They get into the vault, revealing that everything was stolen by Jimmy and Chinchaco, the people who Rick and Morty were pretending to be. The dead things in the cryopods were monkeys. This is a very simple twist, but great. I mean, I didn't see it coming. I am stupid though. Then they have a space race, with everyone racing to get the money for themselves. Rick and Morty are the first ones to make it to Jimmy, and Morty kills Chinchaco by releasing the airlock, which also launches all the money into space, which forces everyone to fight out in space with so many dying. Now I'm not sure the writers intended this, but I'm pretty sure they are saying classism is bad. I know, crazy. It's bare bones commentary, but it works. Rick puts chips in everyone's heads, making sure they don't start a war again, and Morty and Rick ride off into the sunset. Then they find another ship in cryosleep, and Rick goes to raid it for drugs. Great ending. I'm gonna say something that might piss a lot of people off, but this is a very classic Rick and Morty adventure. And what I mean by that, to clarify, is an adventure where Rick and Morty get themselves into a predicament. That's it. Some people got mad the last time I said that. I don't mean like an episode from season 1 or 2. I just mean the structure of a classic Rick and Morty adventure. Now that I've covered my ass, I really enjoyed my time with this episode. Some of my favorite plots in Rick and Morty is when Morty accidentally gets a lot of people killed because of his moral standing. It's just so funny to see him stumble around and regret his actions. And they do something different in this one, where he's just agitated the whole time with the stuff going on. He's angry that this type of situation is happening again, and he's pissed at Rick for making him a worker. This episode has some very funny bits, like when Morty is kicking the shit out of Rick in a sailor suit. Him actually enjoying his time with them is a nice twist on what would normally happen, where he would only care about getting into the vault. Therapy is really opening his mind to letting his guard down more. The first 2/3 are great, but it loses me a bit during the space race. It's a homage to wacky races, which is cool. I just didn't find anything too entertaining about it. Last thing I'll say is that I'm glad they took this line out from one of the animatic trailers.
They have a basketball court?
Basketball court, huh?
Ball is life!
I would have gone on a 2-minute tirade on why Morty would never say something like that, and it would have been pointless. But like, Morty would never say that. He's a nerd, and he has never showed a single interest in basketball at all during this entire series. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the second spot, below Summer of All Fears, but above the Rick, the Mort, and the Ugly. Episode 6 is the Curixus case of Beth, Jim, and Button. This episode starts off showing us Space Beth and Beth's lives and how they are miserable. What's new? It's small, but I really like how we see Beth actually working and seeing the horse hospital again. The last episode that showcased the horse hospital was the sperm episode, and you know how I feel about that episode. During the sequence, the Cheers theme is playing, which is a great choice. It perfectly sets up the best problem. They are stuck where everybody knows their name. They are doing the same thing in life with no change. While the rest of the family are off at Earthworld, an amusement park that is supposed to showcase everything wrong with Earth, the best talk and wonder why they are so fucked up. They want to blame Rick and how he left them as kids, but they think that's lame. They then remember when they were last happy, which was when they were kids. That's pretty sad. This gives them the idea to de-age themselves so they can live without responsibility again. But they kinda forgot how psychotic they were when they were younger. They set traps, they kill animals, and they set Gene's house on fire and attack him. Fuck yeah, let's go! Get him! Fuck you, Gene! The Beths are now mad at each other and attacking each other when Rick comes back to re-age them. But they trick him and make him 360 years old and start beating the shit out of him. They start crying and asking why he left them, but then Rick says that he didn't. His Beth died. Holy shit, how did I not realize this? Every time Beth made a snarky comment about how Rick left her, and Rick just took it, Rick was actually just bearing down his emotions and the truth. Like, Jesus, that must have hurt to hear a different version of your daughter say that you left her, even though you watched yours die. The only person who knows that his Beth died is Morty, so him revealing this to the Beths is great. Once again, it shows that he's changing, but also coincides with the other plot where he wants to go to Earthworld because it's supposed to be really shitty, but when it's actually really nice, Rick is pissed. Morty tells him off for not being able to enjoy things unironically, and this got to Rick. Later in the episode, when Jerry, Summer, and Rick sneak into the old Earth world with the park's creator, Rick realizes that a disease-filled death trap isn't cool. Then Rick goes back and he reveals that his Beth is dead to the Beths. It's him showing genuine emotion and not him being ironic and an asshole like usual. It's a nice arc for Rick that also pokes fun at people who can't like anything ironically. The reason why Rick revealed this could be because he's more emotionally vulnerable in his old state, and that probably has a part to play in it, but I believe that Rick really wanted to say this. The scene where old Rick and the Beths break down crying is really gratifying. They are all fucked up for different reasons, but Rick is trying his best to be a good father, and the Beths now see this. Rick doesn't have to stay with this version of the Smiths, especially after killing Rick Prime, but he chooses to because he wants a family, and is trying to strengthen his relationships with everyone. This also reveals that the Beths are miserable in some part due to their shitty childhood. It took them being kids to admit that. Wait, I just thought about something. If Rick left Beth when she was young, and if every version of Diane was erased at the same time, did Beth grow up without either parents? It would make sense why she's so miserable now, because both of her parents left her at a young age. I got a really big laugh when the Beths break Rick's arm and they all start laughing and Rick just starts shitting himself. They build a treehouse together, giving the Beths a chance to actually spend time with their dad when they are young. Then the Cheers theme plays again and we are shown another day of the Beths' lives, but this time the Beths are more happy. The other plot ends with the park creator, who is voiced by Danny DeVito, which is sick, making all the mascots attack the guests because like most stuff on Earth, it should end in tragedy. I love all the celebrity and film mascots, like Pennywise, the entire Culkin family, and even Danny DeVito, who kills the park creator. Oh yeah, Morty's plot is about a girl wanting to fuck him because he is human and it goes nowhere. Morty does stand up for himself and won't say something racist, so that's an arc I guess. I'm pretty sure this is a hot take. I've seen a lot of people calling this episode bad or mid, but I love this episode. It literally has everything I wanted from season 8. I wanted episodes to have B plots, and this one does, and even has a C plot. The whole family is here, and they all get a moment to shine. Rick shows genuine growth, probably the most in the series so far. And Space Beth and Beth get something to do, even if they are aged down. I love the idea of exploring how Beth was as a kid. The ABCs of Beth revealed that she was terrifying as a kid, and this episode showcases that well. They are terrifying. I get why all the Ricks left. Summer and Jerry get a plot line together, and that is a pairing we never get to see, so that's awesome. The A and B plot are extremely enjoyable. The Morty one, on the other hand, isn't. The plot is literally just a girl swooning over him, but that gets like 1 minute of screen time, so it doesn't matter much. This episode is really funny. The concept of an Earth amusement park is amusing, and Jerry loving it is really funny. I hope after this episode, the Beths are less miserable, and they move on to something new with them. They really need to do something new with Beth's character other than her being miserable. The treehouse staying in the backyard could symbolize her change in attitude, so it better stay in the background in later episodes. The biggest gripe I have with this episode is that Gene survived. Why didn't he get killed? God damn it! Some people are going to be so confused why I hate Gene so much, and I find that very funny. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the #1 spot, above Summer of All Fears. It might just be recency bias, but overall, this episode is in the number 14th spot for the entire series for me. Episode 7 is Ricker Than Fiction. This episode starts off with Rick, Morty, and Jerry watching Maximum Velocity's 9. Rick thinks the series has gotten way worse, so he storms into the director's office to give him a piece of his mind. And the director is James Gunn. Oh God, why? I've heard enough discourse about James Gunn the past couple of weeks. I didn't need to hear more from Rick and Morty. Don't get me wrong, I really like his movies. I'm just sick of hearing about him. And like, why James Gunn? I get that most of his movies he directs nowadays are movies from pre-existing franchises. but the most movies he's made in a single franchise is 3 with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And all of his movies are praised for being different and more fun than most other superhero slop coming out now. Wouldn't it make more sense for the director to be Michael Bay, because he made the Transformers movies, and the Velocity movies are very clearly a parody of those movies. James Gunn is the director just so James Gunn can voice himself. It's kinda fun having James Gunn poke fun at himself and show that he's not super serious, but I'm going to say the same thing about having Hugh Jackman play himself and how Poopy got his poop back. I don't like when they get a celebrity to voice themselves in the series. I'm fine with them playing a different character, but not themselves. There are infinite possibilities and character concepts, but they chose James Gunn. At least it makes sense for the plot to use a director, and it doesn't feel pointless like the inclusion of Hugh Jackman in how Poopy got his poop back. I don't know why I'm such a stickler on this topic, it just irks me. I know I'm being unreasonable. Rick goes and tells James Gunn that he can write a better movie. So Rick takes the Maximum Velocity's 10 script and makes a machine that can help them make it better. I do like the commentary on how some hardcore fans of certain franchises, Star Wars, think they can make a better movie than the professionals, even though directors have to think about many more things than appealing to hardcore fans because the movie has to make money. I'm not saying that they can't criticize a director for making a shitty movie. I'd be the biggest hypocrite of all time. All I'm saying is that they wouldn't do better 99% of the time. Rick tells the machine to kill the main villain, Baron Thistle, and completely derails the plot. Then Rick and Morty get sucked into the machine, and they have to fix Rick's changes in order to end it so they can get out. Morty becomes the new bad guy, and Rick goes to get Tannenbaum, the character Rick forced to kill Baron Thistle, so Morty can kill him, which was the intended ending. I'm so glad Justin Roiland is gone. I could already see him using the same voice he uses for 50 side characters for Tannenbaum. Rick gets cold feet about killing Tannenbaum because he grows to like him, which causes Rick and Morty to fight, outing their plan to both the good guys and the bad guys.
And I didn't even think the last Maximum Velocity was all that bad! Seriously, reintroduce each character? This is the 9th movie! Don't just stand there, Redwood! He's still in range! Shoot him! You're ruining my childhood!
Morty's such a fake bitch. During all of this, Zack Snyder has a talk with James Gunn about how he shouldn't care about what Rick thinks, since he is the smartest man in the universe and he will never be happy with what they make. This scene is actually fine. I know people are making fun of it, but I like the sentiment about how creators shouldn't think about the haters, because no matter what, you can't please everyone. Hell, there are people who call Parasite a bad movie. That's how you know you can't please everyone. The one part I don't like is when Zack Snyder starts criticizing James Gunn's new Superman movie. It's really unfunny. I'm also just mad at Snyder cultists trying to hate on the new Superman movie. Newsflash, it's a great movie. I know Zack Snyder isn't to blame for these cultists, but I still just hate them. It doesn't help that this episode came out the same week Superman did, which was obviously staged to get people talking about this scene. Also, they talk weird. It's not natural for both of them to say their full names when they're talking to each other. Yeah, I'm getting real nitpicky there. Then James Gunn goes and tries to steal the movie-lizer, but Jerry beats the shit out of him, which is very comedic. Rick and Morty are now on the run from the villains and the heroes, and Rick gives Jerry Adderall so he can write an actual ending. That's hilarious. They make it to a doomsday device that Morty made and they turn it on. Tannenbaum convinces the Robo-Trees not to kill Rick, but then Rick pulls out an ornament Tannenbaum gave him earlier, making it look like Rick is going to pull out a gun, causing him to go out Gran Torino style. Then Rick and Morty do a vat of acid in the doomsday laser and die, and the movie ends. Then they come out after James Gunn cries on the machine. That kinda gives the plot zero stakes on a rewatch. They could have died anytime but still survived. Also, Rick was under the presumption that if they died in the movie, they died for real, so he just willingly killed himself and Morty. That's kinda based, Morty deserved it. Then it ends with a strange bit where James Gunn gives the script to a Hollywood bigwig and they shoot him. I don't know, it's weird. I know I was hating on this episode a lot, but I think it's fine. The idea is great with them trapped inside of a movie and having to keep the plot on course in order to escape. Jerry was great in this episode, and I like how they brought back him being an author. The colors and art direction are astounding in this episode. It looks so gorgeous. It really embodies the essence of an action movie, unlike the Numericons episode. There's some good commentary on how a machine can't create a good story, with Jerry's writing saving the day. It's commentary about how AI sucks. No matter what, the machine can't write a good story without human interference. I wish they leaned into that a little bit more, but that's fine. The most disappointing thing about this episode is that from the animatic trailer, it seemed like it was going to be Interdimensional Cable 3, which would have been so epic. Interdimensional Cable 2 Tempting Fate was released nearly 10 years ago. Holy shit, no way, that can't be true. I wanted to see a new one so we could see the improv skills of the new voice actors, but I guess not. What we got was still entertaining, so that's a plus. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the 6th spot below Valkyric, but above The Last Temptation of Jerry. Episode 8 is No More Land. This episode starts off with Jerry eating cereal, and he has a 5 o'clock shadow. Then the real Jerry comes downstairs, chases the imposter, and tackles him. Damn, 2 episodes in a row of Jerry kicking ass. That's my man. Scruffy Jerry, called Mooch, reveals that he is a part of a group of Jerrys who hop dimensions and do whatever they want. They didn't steal a portal gun. They use cracks in the multiverse, most of which are caused by Rick's inventions. Jerry joins Mooch after sneaking him to this universe's crack and after attempting to make small talk with Rick. This scene is hilarious. Rick is baffled at first, then he makes small talk, and then he's pissed that Jerry blindsided him. This shows that he's trying to be nicer to Jerry, while also being a bit of a prick.
And don't blindside me with small talk!
Jerry, I'm still angry at you for talking to me. Ah!
I think Rick wants to make small talk with Jerry. They go through a couple dimensions and end up in a freezing dimension. In this dimension, we are shown that the family froze to death outside, and unlike normal where this would be played off as a joke, it's taken seriously. The Jerrys that go through this dimension put objects up on a wall to remember the family. This is so sweet and makes sense for Jerry's character. He is emotional and compassionate, so of course a bunch of Jerrys wanted to do something after seeing their family dead. Even if it isn't much, it shows why Jerry is such a great character to have in a show full of nihilists. Then a montage plays with them traveling universes, while the song Send Me On My Way by Rusted Root plays, or as you may know, the Ice Age song. They end up in a dimension where Rick turned the moon into a disco ball and they drink beers while talking, and it's fantastic. Mooch makes Jerry realize that he's kind of a badass, at least for a Jerry. I mean, it's true, he beat a pissmaster. Most Jerrys would never even attempt that. They lose track of time and miss the portal to get out of this dimension, so Jerry is now stuck and can't get home. Mooch says they can just wait a week, and Jerry is pissed. What makes it worse is that Mooch says that his family won't even know he's gone. That's so mean, but it also sets up Mooch's mental dilemma, with him thinking his family doesn't miss him. Mooch has a solution, and takes him to Grand Central, a place where Jerrys go to get to other roads, and is a place where Jerrys with no family stay. It's basically a more messed up Jerry Brie. It's run by Boss, who is a Jerry that took control of his Rick, mainly because his Rick is hopped up on drugs all the time. Boss takes their money and bans them from coming back. Then he sends them to Mooch's original dimension. Mooch confesses that he left his dimension for a bit, but when he came back, Beth remarried. So he left for good and never came back. That's why being banned from the road is so devastating to him. In his mind, he has nothing left. He left in the first place because he felt unappreciated, which is such a Jerry motive. Probably my favorite gag in this episode is when we are shown Mooch's family and they all have 5 o'clock shadows. That genuinely surprised me. It's a really funny visual gag. The family tells him that they do hate him a bit, but they still love him and just want him to be there, even if Beth did remarry. Then Mooch's Rick fixes the door, allowing them to get back to Grand Central, where, holy shit, Straw Hat Jerry, he's gonna be king of having no job. So basically Luffy anyways. Boss catches them and a montage plays of them trying to get back to our Jerry's dimension. I love that they just sped up the song from the earlier montage. They kill Boss, which Mooch is devastated that he killed a man, but is also relieved that the road can be open once again. Then Jerry goes back to his dimension where the family was looking for him. They were worried and missed him. That's so wholesome. And then they all start to yell at Jerry because he accidentally made a joke about jerking it. Classic Smiths. Rick finds out where Jerry has been, and instead of being mad, he says it could be good for him. So this episode is fantastic. I shit you not, I had a smile on my face the entire episode. This is one of the reasons why I still tune into Rick and Morty. Almost every season has at least one banger, and this episode is this season's, unless one of the next 2 episodes tops this one, which would be insane. Jerry is my favorite character in the series, so having an adventure with 2 of them hopping dimensions was so much fun. We haven't gotten a solo Jerry adventure since Morty Night Run in season 2, if I'm not mistaken, and even then, that was just the B-plot. This plot is the only one. I love Mooch and Jerry's dynamic. They are the same person, but our Jerry does have a backbone, and Mooch learns stuff from him. He would have never seen his family again if it wasn't for our Jerry. They are so adorable together. This episode is a very nice character study of Jerry. He's an easygoing guy, and he truly loves his family, but when shit goes down, he can stand up for himself, and he never doubted for a second that his family would replace him. This probably stems from them jumping dimensions together. They have a bond from that that's deeper than most other families, even if Jerry isn't technically related to any of them. It's nice to know Jerry does love his family, even if they are all assholes to him. This episode clearly shows how much Jerry has grown as a character. He used to be a whiny, arrogant, and spineless man. Now he stands up for himself, shown by him mouthing off to Boss, isn't whiny, and doesn't only care about himself. Speaking of character growth, Mooch's dimension shows how much Rick has grown to like our Jerry. Mooch's Rick is terribly mean to him and wishes he'd stay gone. Our Rick would miss Jerry. I mean, they were watching Naked and Alone together, naked during the post-credits. Rick has to like him somewhat. I wouldn't even do that with my homies. I'm so glad they didn't turn Mooch into a villain, with him wanting to replace Jerry. I got that vibe on a first watch. That would have undermined the legit emotional moments this episode pulled off, so I'm glad they kept him on Jerry's side. Chris Parnell does amazing as all the Jerrys. He has such a great voice, and all of his line deliveries are golden. If I had to nitpick, Mooch apparently talked about his family on the road a lot, but we never see that. Yeah, that's my only nitpick. This episode is fantastic. This episode redeemed the last Jerry adventure. The Easter one, not the Jail Rick trap. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the first spot, above the Curix's case of Bethjamin Button, and also at number 9 on my series ranking. Episode 9 is Morty Daddy. This episode starts off with Morty getting a call from his son in the hospital. Morty Jr., not Naruto. You cannot believe the relief I felt after I found out that this episode had nothing to do with Naruto. If you don't remember Naruto, you're lucky. Morty goes to the hospital and Junior says that he wants to pay respects to his mother. If you don't remember, Junior's mom is a sex robot. So they go where she is. And Rick's garbage dump. Huh, maybe Garbage Goober finally did something with his doctorate. We can only hope. There's a salvaging robot that says Morty and Junior are valuable, and since the last time one of the Salvatrons took something valuable to Rick yelled at them, so now they just destroy anything valuable. Salvatron is played by Charlie Day. Man, this season is collecting its Always Sunny cast members like Pokemon cards. Morty and Junior run and find a hidden trash village of Rick's old inventions. They find Junior's mom, and Junior pays his respects. I just have to say, I was a little bit skeptical about bringing back Morty Jr., especially since he wrote a book on how terrible Morty is, but their relationship is actually really enjoyable. I'm a sucker for characters with a bad past reconciling. Man, I sure hope nothing ruins this.
I never said out loud, I was dying. What? I needed material for my new book. A sequel to my horrible father.
God damn it. I do not like this twist. It just makes me hate Junior. Like the first book he wrote is understandable. Morty was in fact a terrible father. But to go on an adventure with Morty who presumes Junior is dying just so he can write another hit piece on Morty is terrible. At least in the original episode, you understand why he wrote the book. Morty wasn't a good father because he was 14. But here, Morty is trying to make up for his past mistakes, and Junior is just an asshole. A garbage abomination kidnaps Morty so he can escape the trash hell, and he also shoots Junior. Thank God. Morty can't get out because Rick thinks Morty is doing a Goonies, and he hates the idea of that for some reason. Then the Salvatrons come and attack Morty, but Junior saves him. They revolt against the big tower controlling the trash land and kill it. They create a new world where trash can live free, and Morty Jr. wants to live there now, mostly because he doesn't want to pay child support. And Morty is the bad father. Then he writes another book, which was a funny way of ending the episode, just because of how absurd it is that he got a book deal down in the garbage land. Also, the family seems to be going on a trip at the end of this episode. I wonder if this is going to lead into the finale, or if it's just a way to get the book mentioned. The other plot follows Rick and Summer going to a restaurant where the chefs already know what you want. When Summer gets avocado toast instead of something wacky, she's pissed. She gets mad at the Cogs, the chefs that can predict the future. Then they want Rick to take them away, so he takes them and they hang out. Summer feels left out. All she wanted to do was hang out with Rick, and Rick just ignored her. Man, the characters are great this episode. Summer kidnaps the Cogs, and they tell her that they wanted her to do this. And to get whatever they want over with, she agrees to follow their orders. And with a pretty funny ending gag, the Cogs wanted to open a hot dog food truck. So this episode was fine. I never found myself too interested in either plots, but not uninterested either. I know it's a nihilistic show, and they have been doing great character moments this season, but this episode just feels mean and bitter. Rick's an asshole to Summer, which isn't fun to watch, and Junior is a piece of shit. I do really like the concept of Rick's trash heap. I always love episodes and shows when characters are thrown into big worlds of discarded items, like the one Lost and Found episode in SpongeBob. Rick's thrown away inventions are fun, and I love how Rick just had a phase where he made talking machines. I'm glad to see them do some episodes with an A and B plot. Even if this one isn't the best, I still like seeing the two plots. This season definitely has an obsession with season 1. First the Federation plotline wrapped up, then the Citadel plotline wrapped up, then they bring back Morty Jr. They are ramping up to something, I can just feel it. So I hope something big happens in the next episode. I mean, I don't know right now. I sure do hope something happens, or I'll look stupider than usual. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the 8th spot, below Ricker Than Fiction, but above The Last Temptation of Jerry. Real quick, they just announced a spin-off show from Rick and Morty following the president. I just wanted to talk about it real quick so no one comments, hey, did you know they're making a spin-off show of Rick and Morty? So I love the president, and I think a show about him could be cool. Yeah, that's basically it. Make sure to like and subscribe because I'll probably make a video on it when that's out. And finally, episode 10 is Hot Rick. Of course, right when the final episode gets released, I wind up sick, so sorry if I sound rough during this segment. This episode starts off with Rick hooking up with Bug Ann, who is the girl Rick used to hook up with in the Defiance. We saw her back in Valkyric, and even though Space Beth told him not to fuck her, he does it anyways. Bug Ann invites Rick to a barbecue and he drops big lore just out of nowhere. Bug Ann knows about Diane and Rick tells her that he can hardly remember her. The Omega device fries people's brains and makes them not able to remember the certain person who was erased very well. That's even more fucked up than we first thought. We are later shown one of the memories Rick has of Diane, but it's safe to assume he has one more memory of her. The one that haunts him. The one where she is killed. This means Rick Prime allowed that memory to stay with Rick, which is so messed up. Rick goes home after rejecting Bug Ann's offer, and Jerry starts talking about how great Rick is. It's revealed after Rick and Jerry's minds got mixed in the Jer-Rick trap, Memory Rick from Returnal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort traveled over into Jerry's brain, and is implanting false memories of Rick being loving into Jerry's head. Rick takes him out and puts him in a really nice prison and fixes Jerry. Then Rick gets an idea from Summer, when she says she wishes she can erase her exes from her memory. He goes into his memories and finds one of Diane shooting at a gun range and looks at her longingly. Then he removes the memory from his brain. God, I love this scene. There are no jokes and hardly any dialogue, just Rick wishing for Diane back until he finally does the one thing he hasn't tried, and gets rid of her. It's a very somber scene. It's definitely my favorite scene from this season. The portal that sucks the memory out is also really cool. Like, look at it. Memory Rick escapes the prison into Beth's mind. Then Rick reveals to the family that he removed Diane from his mind. No one knows how to react, but Rick seems to be a bit happier. Then Rick goes to Bug Ann's barbecue, where he's a bit too open and tells her family that they are hooking up, which in their culture is looked down upon, so he has to fight in a coliseum. And like usual, he bails. This shows that Diane was really never the problem. It's that Rick won't let her go, which we'll get to. Back in Beth's head, we are shown Rick leaving Beth as a kid, and I have a theory. I believe the reason that all the Ricks left Beth was because Diane was erased. Ricks are always crazy about Diane, and when they look at their Beth, all they see is their dead wife in her, so they leave not knowing what else to do. Memory Rick starts training Memory Beths and tells them that Diane is trapped in older Rick's basement, and this makes the real Beth go down there and rescue her. Memory Rick and Memory Diane reunite, and it's a very sweet moment. Even if they are just memories, we are shown in one simple scene how deeply Rick loves Diane. They go back into Beth's mind. Real Beth is about to leave when Space Beth comes down and figures out what she is doing. Then Beth does this.
Is how we stay a family!
When I said do something drastic in this episode, I wasn't expecting that. Sure, Space Beth isn't dead. Rick revives her later, but I was fully under the impression that Beth just killed her on a first watch. It makes sense. It would get people talking about this episode, and they had a couple episodes focusing on Space Beth this season. A lot of times in shows, when they start focusing on a character a lot, that means they're probably gonna die later. Luckily, they didn't go through with it, but it still was a shock. Beth is now going crazy. Inside her mind, Diane tells one of the Beths that they are memories, which causes that Beth to gain sentience, which causes her to go and round up all the memory Beths to hunt them down. Diane and Memory Rick go through recent memories, which are episodes of the season, which is fun to see, and they end up the farthest they can go, with Beth driving away after thinking she killed Space Beth. Rick and Space Beth chase her, and Beth drives off a cliff, fully intending to end her life. Rick saves her, and Space Beth fights her with some really good choreography. She's defeated, then Beth grabs Space Beth's gun and says that she wants to end it all because the voices are too much. During all of this, the Memory Beths capture Memory Rick and force him to watch what he did to his daughter. Beth says she remembers loving and hating her dad, and Rick says that's how it should be. He comforts her, making all the Beths think Rick is being a loving guy, then he knocks Beth out. I love this scene. It's quite poetic, with Rick being loving and wronging her, just like Beth said she remembers. Then a nice scene of Rick and Beth plays, where Beth said it was nice having Diane in her head, and Rick says that she loved her. Then Rick gets Memory Diane and Rick out of her head and tells the family they're gone. Rick leaves because the family is sad that Memory Rick is dead, but Rick drives off into space, revealing that he saved them. He lets them live in paradise forever and launches them out into space. First off, the space in this scene is gorgeous. Secondly, this is metaphorical of Rick moving on. Rick's problem wasn't that Diane was in his head. Rick's problem was that he wouldn't let her go. Earlier in the episode, even if he removed the memory of Diane, he still kept it in the basement, showing he's not willing to move on. So him physically letting his memory of Diane go, he has finally completed the 5th step of grief, acceptance, after 40 long years of depression. We already see him moving on, with him trying to reach out to Bug Ann, probably to apologize. Now, is he perfect? No. He says he's going to erase his memory of them, but I don't think he will. Also, he keeps this burden to himself, showing his growth from the Pissmaster episode, where he had to tell Morty about his selfless act. And thirdly, the song Don't Look Back by Ryan Elder and Kotami is significant because it's Rick not looking back on the past anymore. And it's also a banger. Yeah, this episode is pretty great. It's a very satisfying finale that finally shows Rick moving on from his past. I love the vibe they went with this episode. There are still jokes, but this is definitely the most serious episode of Rick and Morty. A lot of scenes have no jokes, and Beth trying to end her own life is heartbreaking. It shows Rick how hurtful constantly looking to the past can be. His younger self will ruin his daughter's mind just so he can see Diane. This makes Rick realize how he's gone too far. He's moped around for too long. It's time to move on and finally enjoy life. I hope they stop the Diane plotline here. To show more of her would just defeat the purpose of Rick's arc. Plus, she can't come back. The only way I can see this working is if evil Morty comes back and forces Rick to help him with something, and he baits Rick with the false hope that he found a way to bring Diane back with the blueprints of the Omega device. But in the end, he can't bring her back. I want to give some props to Sarah Chalk. Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing names. She was fantastic as Beth this season, and this episode really shows her range as an actress. I'm not sure what the fan reaction will be to this episode. I thought it was great, but I feel like some fans will be disappointed because the next big plotline isn't revealed. But to me, that doesn't matter. I'll take big character arcs anytime. In terms of the ranking, this episode is going in the 2nd spot, below No Mortland, but above the Curix's Case of Benjamin Button. And that's another season of Rick and Morty done. Before I get into my full thoughts on this season, let's look back and see if my hopes came true. Hope number 1, be at a similar or higher quality than season 7. Sadly, I do not believe this one came true. I think season 7 has higher highs, but not as low of lows. But season 7 highs were so high. But that doesn't mean season 8 was bad. I think it was a great season that was a bit messy. Hope number 2, do more stuff with the family. Yep, they certainly did. Jerry got a couple plot lines and so did Summer, and of course, Beth and Space Beth had a lot of time to shine this season. The writers bringing back the family into the show more when season 7 hardly had anything to do with the family other than Rick and Morty was great to see. I also do believe it's because they brought back a couple episodes with A and B plots, so they could focus on the family way more. Each family member got an episode to shine, which is awesome. Hope number 3, no bad episodes. This one did not happen, but they were so close. If the Easter episode didn't exist, the season would have passed this hope. But like I said before, this hope was a bit of a long shot, and this season only having one bad episode, in my opinion, is still amazing. Hope number 4, reveal the next big storyline. This one did not come true. But like I said before, I would enjoy a season just of episodic adventures, and I sure did, so this one isn't that big of a loss, even though some fans are going to go crazy. Hope number 5, have Rick continue to improve as a person. This one mostly came true. Most episodes show his improvement subtly, but there are 2 episodes that feel like he was regressing. Those of course were Morty Daddy and Summer of All Fears, but Rick gets his comeuppance at the end of those episodes, so it's fine. Also, it shows that no one is perfect, even if they are trying to improve, so it paints a more realistic portrayal of Rick's journey of betterment, which I like. And those were my hopes. I'd say even if some of them did not come true fully, I was still satisfied with most of the things they did this season. This season was very character focused, with it giving us many character studies of the main cast. Each character had some interesting mental dilemmas that showed who they really are as people, so the characters were great. But what about the comedy? This season was really funny in my opinion. Most episodes got an audible laugh out of me. That might not sound like much, but nowadays, I never really laugh out loud, unless if I'm with a group of people watching something, so this is high praise. This season has a shit ton of Jerry, and he's better than ever. This season cements Jerry as my favorite character in the show. From one of my least favorite characters to my favorite is a crazy journey. Beth and Space Beth have definitely become more likable this season. Summer I'm still iffy on. She used to be one of my favorites, and now I think she's kinda mid. Summer of All Fears did show us an interesting angle with her character, so that's a plus. Morty is becoming more assertive with multiple scenes where he yells at Rick. He's done dealing with Rick's shit and will put him in his place, which is a great way to take his character. And Rick, like I said before, is improving, which is great. So the family is in this season a lot, and for the most part, I think they were all extremely enjoyable. The colors and animation is great as always. Some bad things about this season is that there was no interdimensional cable type episode. There is always one in each season, so it feels weird not to have one. And a bit sad, like this was a tradition for the show and now it's gone. Hopefully it comes back next season. Now the worst thing about this season is that Gene is in it. I'm racking my brain right now trying to think of critiques that were not episode specific, and I can't come up with anything. Yeah, this season was a great, beautiful mess. So I guess without further ado, let's get into the final ranking of the series. In the 81st spot is Rick Dependent Spray. In the 80th spot is Claw and Hoarder Special Rickdoms Morty. In the 79th spot is How Poopy Got His Poop Back. In the 78th spot is Pickle Rick. In the 77th spot is Rise of the Numericons, the movie. In the 76th spot is Vindicators 3, The Return of World Ender. In the 75th spot is Gotron Jerrysis Rick Vangelion. In the 74th spot is The ABCs of Beth. In the 73rd spot is Rattlestar Rick Lactica. In the 72nd spot is Wet Caught a Mortykin Summer. In the 71st spot is A Mortykin Graffiti. In the 70th spot is Child Rick of Mort. In the 69th spot is The Last Temptation of Jerry. In the 68th spot is Raising Gazorpazorb. In the 67th spot is The Ricturian Morty Date. In the 66th spot is One Crew Over the Cuckoo's Morty. In the 65th spot is Pro Mortius. In the 64th spot is Full Meta Jack Rick. In the 63rd spot is Interdimensional Cable 2 Tempting Fate. In the 62nd spot is Bethic Twinstinct. In the 61st spot is Mort Ragnarok. In the 60th spot is Rictional Morpoon's Rickmas Morcation. In the 59th spot is Morty Daddy. In the 58th spot is Anatomy Park. In the 57th spot is Edge to Morty Rick Die Rick Pete. In the 56th spot is A Rick Convenient Mort. In the 55th spot is Something Ricked This Way Comes. In the 54th spot is A Rick and King Mortar's Mort. In the 53rd spot is Ricker Than Fiction. In the 52nd spot is Morty's Mind Blowers. In the 51st spot is Jurassic Mort. In the 50th spot is Autoerotica Simulation. In the 49th spot is The Old Man in the Seat. In the 48th spot is Never Ricking Morty. In the 47th spot is Mort Dinner Rick Andre. In the 46th spot is Air Force Wong. In the 45th spot is Lawnmower Dog. In the 44th spot is The Whirly Durly Conspiracy. In the 43rd spot is Rick A Mort Well Lived. In the 42nd spot is Rick and Morty's Thanksploitation Mutation Spectacular. In the 41st spot is Valkyrick. If you made it this far, comment down below Goodbye Moon Man to confuse everyone and also to show that you watched the video all the way through. In the 40th spot is Rick's D Minutes. In the 39th spot is Starmort Return of the Jerry. In the 38th spot is Ricksky Business. In the 37th spot is Forgetting Sarah Mort. In the 36th spot is The Pilot. In the 35th spot is Rick Mansing the Stone. In the 34th spot is The Jarrett Trap. In the 33rd spot is The Rick, the Mort, and the Ugly. In the 32nd spot is Big Trouble in Little Sanchez. In the 31st spot is Cryo Mort a Rickver. In the 30th spot is Rick Defending Your Mort. In the 29th spot is Returnal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort. In the 28th spot is That's a Morte. In the 27th spot is Look Who's Purging Now. In the 26th spot is Analyze Piss. In the 25th spot is Rest and Relaxation. In the 24th spot is Get Swifty. In the 23rd spot is Summer of All Fears. In the 22nd spot is Final Dismissation. In the 21st spot is Morty Night Run. In the 20th spot is Mortyplicity. In the 19th spot is M. Night Shyam Aliens. In the 18th spot is the Vat of Acid episode. In the 17th spot is the Curixus Case of Benjamin Button. In the 16th spot is Solo Ricks. In the 15th spot is Rick Potion number 9. In the 14th spot is Rick Mirai Jack. In the 13th spot is Hot Rick. In the 12th spot is the Rick Shank Redemption. In the 11th spot is Night Family. In the 10th spot is the Ricks Must Be Crazy. In the 9th spot is No More Land. In the 8th spot is Wedding Squanchers. In the 7th spot is Unmort Rickon. In the 6th spot is A Rickle in Time. In the 5th spot is Close Work Counters of the Rick Kind. In the 4th spot is Me Seeks and Destroy. In the 3rd spot is Fear No More. In the 2nd spot is Total Rick Call. And of course in the 1st spot is the Ricklantics Mix-Up. Sorry for going so fast, I just wanted to get that over with. Oh my god, it feels so nice to be done with Rick and Morty for a bit. I've been constantly watching it for the past year and making videos on it, and I need a break. But that doesn't mean I'm done. I still have to do a video on the anime. I have a couple rankings I want to do. There's the New President TV show that I will review. And of course, there's always Season 9. So if you want to see those, please like and subscribe. Thank you for making it this far. It means a lot to me. What did you think of Season 8? If you haven't seen my retrospective videos, I would watch them if you liked this video. That's all I have to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.